Hi, it's Sue Greenwald here with Awakened Stories, and I'm here today with Deanna Carr with the Mystical Moonlight. Hey, Deanna, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. So, not to beat a dead horse too much, but we're going to do a Howard Hughes part two. All right? Because we
Okay.
did that video the other day and got tons of questions, as well as I had so many questions as well. Okay. So,
Awesome.
So you had said Howard Hughes, we talked about the birth certificate. There were two of them, and they were both different dates, different locations, et cetera, et cetera. And you said that there was basically a clone. All right, so I'm going to back up a little bit. Was his family, Howard Hughes's family, satanic, reptilian, or vampires?
Satanic.
Satanic. And was Howard Hughes the child, the real person, subject to satanic ritual abuse?
Yes.
Okay, so that's how he knew all these famous people before he went to Hollywood.
hmm
Okay, so they would take advantage of him as a young child, and that was his
Yeah,
like,
they start them off on the younger side because they don't know better.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so that is well, it was kind of implied last time, but I wanted to clearly state that for the record, if you will.
Yeah.
Now, um, they created a clone. Did the clone, like we'll call it, live at the same location as Howard Hughes, the real one, or was he in a separate location?
Separate location, but it was pretty much like mimicking lives.
Okay, so you said that this clone went awry somehow. They went, or was it the real Howard Hughes?
It was a Howard Hughes.
So he went awry. So he was doing his thing. He grew up. He went to Hollywood. He created the Howard Hughes aviation, and he did all these
Mhm.
things. Did he go awry before that or during that time, or was it toward the end of his life?
It was before, like he was put through all this stuff
Mhm.
and he had a somewhat to him normal life. He was trying to get on the right track. And then there was a pivotal point for him where it was like there was no coming back.
Okay.
And that's what started leading him onto that path of, um, well, everything. So it's basically that split point. And
Okay.
when he hit that split point, he went down that path of doing all these negative things.
Okay.
Um, and when that happened, that's when it's pretty much like a screw went loose. Um, I don't know how else to say it. Like it fried something, and that's why he went on all these negative things. And then towards the end, it was like the screw got put back on.
Okay. So he kind of lost his mind for a little bit. He did all these negative things. And then
hmm
toward the end of his life, you said he had regret about much of what he had done.
Yes.
But at that point, he was being controlled. They basically controlled him and killed him because they wanted him to do what they wanted him to do, right?
Yes.
So he was like in the public eye. There was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that we're trying to uncover now.
Yes.
Okay. Times when a child grows up that way and they're basically tortured and abused, I mean, they think that's normal behavior, but their mind is usually fractured. They have to protect themselves in some way. Is that what caused, we'll call it the screw to come loose?
Yeah. It does happen. Depending on what happens, it does fry their brain. They do put up a lot of defense systems, and they do think that it's normalized what they've gone through. So that's what happened for him. He felt like everything he was going through was what everybody else was going through. So he didn't really think too much of it. And towards the end, that's when, like I said, the screw got put back and he started realizing like this wasn't normal. This wasn't a normal life. Kind of like he had a out of body experience. Like he wasn't really there for the whole ride. And then towards the end, he's like, "Was that me?" And this is where some of the complications come into play about what they did with him, and messing with his DNA system.
Okay, okay. Um, Now the clone that came in or they created, About what age did that clone appear?
It was actually in and out. So this was more towards their trial and error with clones. So it would come in phases. So it didn't really come out towards I'm getting the number 13, probably towards his 13th birthday. They started switching them in and out to see if it would be a visible difference. So pretty much they were the same person. They went on the same lifespan. They went the same way. The only thing is they would switch in and out once in a while. And was it notified? Well, did he know it was happening? No. It was kind of like what I'm saying with, he was there for the ride, but there are pivotal points in his journey that he doesn't fully remember, and that's when they would switch him out.
Oh, okay. So the clone had his memories and knew the same people and this and that. So they were
Mhm.
kind of like sticking the clone out there to see if anyone would notice that it wasn't the real person.
Mhm. So
Okay,
it's basically like catching data.
interesting. Okay. Was the clone an android type of a clone, like a robotic clone, or was it one that was we'll call it built? And did it have to be upgraded or replaced?
It did need upgrading. So this was when they're really testing out, and it wasn't just him at the time. There are other clones in the same time frame when they're trying to get to the like 2.0, and they're trying to see how interchangeable they can be with
Right.
people. Would people notice if somebody went missing? Would
Yeah.
somebody notice their tendencies being different? Do they have all the tendencies? So there were many of these going on at once, but he was one of the main ones. And with the data they collected, they were able to roll out the next stage on, let's say, the 2.0, and then they upgrade to the 3.0. Um, and most people did not notice a difference between the two. There were a few subtle hints that, they're saying people noticed, but it wasn't as dramatic as like, hey, like this is not a person. It was more like they're having an off day.
Yeah.
So nobody really noticed that it was actually a robot.
Okay. Wow.
Mhm.
Okay, so it was like a robotic type of a clone,
Yes.
and maybe
Yeah.
it had skin that would sweat or grow hair or whatever.
Yeah, they were able to instill in it these capabilities like humans. But they also found, he didn't really sweat that much, so it wasn't like abnormal, like not a heavy sweater. There's some people that sweat so much that it would be hard to replicate.
Yeah.
So it was kind of easier for them to add subtle pieces,
Yeah.
but it was robot underneath. It had the skin and muscular tissue, whatever they used for that.
Okay.
And then they would replicate the human tendencies of sweat. They added crying and the basic human
Wow.
pieces.
Wow. Interesting. All right.
Mhm,
Now you said the clone's name is Richard now. The clone is still
mhm,
available or out
mhm,
there. He's semi-famous, so he's a name we might know.
mhm.
What industry is that clone in? Science, engineering, film, medical?
I'm getting engineering still.
Engineering. Okay, so
Mhm,
I'm not going to let this go. I've got to look up all the famous engineers named Richard. Okay. All right. We had a question from a viewer. Was Howard Hughes female, biologically female?
No, I'm not getting that.
Okay. Um, all right. Now, the Howard Hughes Medical Institute in Miami is still out there doing, like, I'm going to say it was either 1953 or, yeah, 1953 or 73. Wow, I can't remember the date. He started
Mhm,
it way back when, and he was like trying to give back to humanity. All right.
mhm.
So we talked a little bit about it's involved in human trafficking and clones. Okay. So is there any real legit medical research being done there? Or just like a small portion of it, I assume.
Small portion.
Yeah.
They're trying to go on to the right track now because they're being looked at.
Yeah.
Um, But other than that, they have dwindled it down. Why? It looks like there was new ownership that is trying to be better,
Hmm.
but there's still a lot of negative grips on it. So
Okay.
it's kind of like somebody does see that it's wrong, but it's hard for one person to alter a whole system.
Okay. Yeah,
It's
it is.
like multiples.
Yeah. Okay, so they were part of the human trafficking network, right? So
Hmm.
there's a network of where they bring, people slash children in, where they go, how they transport them around. And I'm
Hmm.
assuming there was a lot of facilities there, part of their system, and that was part of their network. And then they probably created clones and did experimentation on the clones, as well as probably organ harvesting and
Yes.
creating, I'm going to say adrenochrome there.
Mhm.
Anything else nefarious that we need to know of?
What else can we
It-
add to the list?
I think that's kind of about the worst stuff you can even think of, but that's happening there.
Yeah.
And it's tapering down, but it needs to be discontinued and exposed,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
All right. Why did Howard Hughes get into aviation at all? Like, he was in Hollywood and he was supposedly building these engines and all that, but was it to launder money or to give like a front for other businesses, or what was the reason there?
Multiple reasons. First, it was easy. I mean, have a plane. It was easy for him to get to places he needed. So it was just instead of, having one plane, why not have many? So that was like the initial thought. Then it goes on to transportation of, how I said the movie and film industry. Well, transportation of people, humans, some wanting to be there, some not. Rich people wanting to be there, some not. Actually, no, they all wanted to be there. My bad. Um, so the system that he set up was a front for this industry, for his film industry.
Okay.
So it was behind the scenes more than people thought. Like there's a portion of his life that film was, very evident. He won the awards, but they didn't realize he was doing it long before that. He used everything from his other businesses. He was smart about this, how to incorporate them to bounce off of each other. Although they were negative, he was smart about it. So he had the plane system in place so he could transport people where they needed to be. It also gave him a huge revenue, and then it also gave him huge publicity. So those are the main factors.
Right. Okay.
And then you go into his building business. Well, the building business, it was able to support the people that he was transporting. It was able to, support every other business too. So every business basically was a tower for each other to support each other.
Right. Right.
So that way he built it up. Um, but yeah, the reason he got into that was he did like traveling, and that to him was the easiest way to do it was, hey, let's get a plane. And
Yeah.
then it was like, why not just one? Let's do two. Okay, now we could do this. And so it just kind of went down a rabbit hole.
Right. Okay. It makes sense. So basically, like all of his businesses cross-pollinated. And so he would transport people and they would stay in his hotels or whatever, I assume.
Hmm.
And then
Yep.
he would, again, we've got the trafficking component there, right? But then we
Hmm.
also have the famous people slash whatever they did at their party component. Does that sound right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So when he was young, he got into Hollywood and basically he did that basically to create porn, as you said. All right.
Yes.
And I think it's worse than that. Like in my mind, it was similar to what we call a Diddy party, right? Where they,
Yeah, it wasn't this, when I say it was like black market. It's not something that, people do have access on their, internet and stuff to the regular stuff. But
yeah,
this was stuff that you would have to be exclusive to even know about.
right.
So it would be considered more black market.
Okay. All right. And was there anything else done there, like like murder or
Oh, definitely.
Okay, so there was a lot of
It
ritual.
was, yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on. It was very negative, but all twisted together.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that for people. I mean, I think we
Mhm.
made the point last time, but I'm making it now if I didn't. Okay. So
Yeah,
these were,
sometimes I try to be like, get the answers yourself, but yeah, it was
yeah,
very negative, very twisted, dark. Um, and it's sad because this stuff is still going on. Like maybe not necessarily just because of him, but this type of stuff does happen. And it's sad because these people don't realize what they've done. Like
yeah,
there's always a reason there behind it. It's either the money, it's easy. Some people are just very sadistic and they think that it's normalized.
yeah, yeah. So he basically was smart enough to create an integrated system of all
Mhm,
the pieces so he could like kind of control it. He made money on it in
mhm.
various ways, but he was firmly entrenched. All right. And
Yes.
I'm assuming he's not the first one ever, but you know, the fact that I'm told to do this particular person, which nobody, like a lot of us would say, well, why do we care about a guy that's like from, 100 years ago? Why? But we're showing how the system was corrupt even then and how
Yeah.
we've been lied to. Like if you read his history, every piece of it is a lie.
Mhm.
Every piece, just like Einstein, every piece is a lie. That should outrage people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it just shows how easy it is. I mean, just think about it. Most of our information you go online to get.
Yeah.
Somebody had to put it there.
Yeah.
Somebody had to say it. Somebody started it all.
They're
So,
controlling the information.
yeah.
So they basically made him seem crazy. So you know how you said the screw came loose and then the screw kind of went back in. Um,
Hmm.
so he had regrets toward the end of his life, and they were like, "Oh no, no, no. We're not letting you out of this. Like you started this amazing system. We're making tons of money. We're doing this and that, and we're getting all the things that we want." So they controlled him,
Yeah.
right? And they made the public think he was crazy.
Hmm.
They basically probably did make him crazy. Like they kept him trapped in a room. They said he watched movies and did all these crazy things, and maybe he did, but yikes.
After a while, I think a lot of people would go crazy doing the same thing over and over,
Yeah,
being trapped. And knowing you're forced there, it's not like, I don't feel like going out today. It's like, hey, no, you're not going out today.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it is
So in
different,
it,
but at the same time, he did a lot of negative things. But at the same time, you kind of feel sorry for him
yeah,
in the beginning because, like I said, most people that go down this crazy rabbit hole weren't always meant to. It was, manipulated and twisted
right,
into what it became.
right,
And unfortunately, he was one of those that they manipulated.
yeah,
But at the same time, he did choose that. So
yeah.
it's
Well,
kind of like
again,
a
if you
double-ended
don't
sword.
realize society is different, if you think everyone is treated this way and everyone does that,
Hmm.
then you don't realize that there's anything wrong with it. But on the other hand, why keep it a secret then? Right? So
Yeah.
if something's that secret, doesn't that raise a red flag for you?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, he was very smart, it sounds like. He really created an empire. And
Hmm.
of course, it was all negative and nefarious. But then when he tried to get out or stop, he was not allowed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not the first time that's happened. There's a lot of evidence showing that there are people that have been in, let's call it the game, um, and they've, had a change of heart. Something happens. They don't want to do this, or maybe they really didn't want to. They just felt like they had to.
Hmm.
Um, Once they make it more public that they're changing, they go crazy. Something happens. They get
Right.
killed off. There's
Yeah.
always something.
Yeah. Well, we see a lot of celebrities. Either they're in accidents or they die. They fake their deaths, a lot of them. Okay.
Mhm.
And they go into hiding because they want to get out. And once you're in, you can really never get out.
Yeah.
So, okay. I hope this answered all the questions. Like the clone question was a big one. And
Yeah.
we know that we have clones out there now, and there's a lot more than we realize.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And so just want to let people know, any questions, put them in the comments, of course.
Mhm.
Anything else we need to know about this, Deanna?
I know the one question was he a girl? Like, was he a female?
Yeah.
And my answer is still no. But one thing that they did say is there was a hard time having him. Like they weren't able to have babies easily. So there was some stuff that was put about to help them have him. Does that make sense?
His parents, you mean?
Yes.
All right.
I don't know if that makes sense.
So they weren't able to have a baby or whatever, get pregnant or whatever, and so they
Hmm.
took drugs or whatever. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's they took drugs, but it looks like they did some rituals to try and help have a
Um,
baby and actually get
okay.
pregnant.
All right. So his parents were firmly entrenched in the satanic club then.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. So we already know that goes back a really long time. And now we're finding
Hmm.
out minimally 100 years, right? So,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Of course.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.